Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. Today, we're looking at something I think we can all relate to,
Uh-huh.
productivity
Yeah,
in the digital age. And I have to say, just even glancing through all the material you sent over, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed already.
it is. It's a very common feeling
Emails, meetings, projects. It,
to
it,
feel overwhelmed by the
that's right.
sheer volume of information and tasks that we're all faced with.
So that's why I
Gosh.
am so excited to dig into Smart Work
Exactly.
by Dermot Crowley.
By Dermot Crowley, he really emphasizes this idea that it's not about doing more. It's about doing the right things and using technology
Oh,
to our advantage
yeah.
to help us be more efficient and effective rather than just contributing
See
to
the
chaos.
side.
Right. So where does Crowley suggest we even begin with all of this?
He starts with a very simple concept,
Okay.
consolidation.
Okay.
Bringing everything together into one cohesive system. So are we talking about going completely digital here? Because I've tried all the to-do list apps,
Mhm.
and I always just end up going back to my notebooks.
I understand the appeal of pen and paper, but imagine if instead of having things scattered across multiple notebooks and sticky notes and different apps,
Yeah.
you could have everything consolidated in one place. All your meetings, your deadlines, those random ideas that you don't want to forget.
I mean, it sounds great in theory,
It does.
but like you said, I have my own system. It works for me. It's a little chaotic.
But is it really working for you? Or is it just what you're used to?
That's a very good question.
Crowley argues that moving to a more streamlined digital system can actually free up a lot of mental space
Okay.
for you to focus on the things that truly matter. He's a big advocate for harnessing the power of your electronic calendar and your task list,
Yeah.
using those as your central command center.
Okay, let's say I'm willing to give digital another shot. What makes this approach different from all the other productivity systems that are out there?
Oh.
I feel like I've tried everything.
Smart work emphasizes leveraging the inherent advantages of technology,
Okay.
not just replicating old methods in a new format.
Okay.
Think about how you handle emails that require action. Do they just sit in your inbox and kind of linger there?
I'm guilty of that.
A lot of us do that, right?
That's my to-do list.
Exactly.
Okay.
But what if, instead of letting those action items just pile up in your inbox, you had a system for processing them efficiently?
Okay.
So Smart Work talks about having a process to empty your inbox.
A process to empty.
Like a letterbox. It gets emptied regularly instead
Yeah.
of letting things pile up. So you either respond to it immediately,
Right.
delegate it, or convert it into a task in your central system.
Okay. So no more using my inbox as a dumping ground for every stray thought, and to do that pops into my head.
Right.
But realistically, those things are coming from all over the place. I've got meeting notes, voicemails, random thoughts at 2 a.m.
And that's exactly where a centralized digital system excels. Imagine you're in a meeting and you have a brilliant idea. Instead of scribbling it down on a napkin,
Which I will lose.
which you'll probably lose,
Absolutely.
you add it as a task
Oh.
immediately in your system
Right there in the meeting.
with any relevant context or next steps.
I like it. Okay, so I'm starting to see the value here. But even with the system, the amount of things that I have to get done, it's overwhelming.
That's where Smart Work introduces this concept called the proactive zone.
The proactive zone. That sounds interesting.
It is.
Tell me more.
It's basically being ahead of your deadlines, managing your workload effectively, feeling that sense of control
Oh,
instead of constant overwhelm.
I like that.
And one of the key strategies to get there is what Crowley calls scheduling it forward.
Scheduling it forward. What is that?
It's about shifting your focus from due dates to start dates.
Okay.
So instead of thinking, oh, this is due next Friday,
Right.
you think about when do I need to start working on this in order to have it completed comfortably by next Friday?
So it's about being proactive instead of reactive.
Exactly.
Planning ahead rather than always feeling like I'm scrambling to catch up.
Exactly.
I have to admit, I do like the sound of that. But what about those days where it's just back-to-back meetings?
It's a common problem.
I can't schedule it forward if my calendar is already packed.
That's where it becomes really important to create a balanced schedule.
Okay.
Smart work really emphasizes that.
Okay.
Making sure you have dedicated time for focused work.
Okay.
Even if it means pushing back on some of those meeting requests.
There's that word again.
Oh.
It's so hard to say sometimes.
It can be a challenge, especially in a culture that often prizes busyness. But Crowley provides a framework for making those decisions strategically.
Okay.
So before you automatically say yes to every meeting invitation,
Right.
ask yourself,
Okay.
is my presence truly essential for this meeting to be successful?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Could we achieve the same outcome with a quick phone call or even just an email exchange?
I love that. So being more intentional with our time
Yes.
instead of just letting it happen to us.
Exactly. Becoming the architect of your workday.
I like that. Okay, so we've talked about consolidating tasks,
Yes.
the power of digital scheduling it forward. What else does smart work have for us?
Well, we've only just scratched the surface.
Okay.
In part 2, we'll delve into Crowley's ROAR method for planning,
Okay.
and we'll explore how to fight for those priorities that truly matter.
All right. I can't wait. Bring on part 2.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive into smart work.
I'm excited to keep going.
In part 1, we talked about consolidating tasks and really harnessing the power of technology.
Right.
And today, we're going to dig into the idea of planning, which I know for many people,
This could feel overwhelming.
it can feel like just another task to add to the to-do list.
It's true. I feel like I'm always so busy doing things that I never have time to actually plan what I should be doing. So how do we escape that cycle?
Well, Dermot Crowley makes this really interesting point. In smart work,
Okay.
that planning is actually the key to working less.
Okay. I like where this is going.
Not in the sense of doing less work overall,
I was going to say.
but in the sense of being more efficient
Okay.
with your time, eliminating that wasted time and energy.
I'm all ears.
So the book introduces this structured process for
Good.
planning called ROAR.
Roar.
Review, organize, anticipate, realign.
So this is like a weekly thing we would do.
Precisely. It could be a Sunday evening ritual
That's
or
it.
maybe a Monday morning thing,
Okay.
just to kind of set yourself up for success for the week.
I like that.
So you start with review,
Okay.
taking stock of all your commitments.
So this is more than just glancing at my to-do list and panicking.
It is. It's about being thorough.
Okay.
So you look back at your meetings from the previous week. Were there any action items buried in those meeting notes? What tasks are still lingering on your to-do list? And then, of course,
That's the scary part.
you tackle that inbox.
Oh, no.
And strive for the glorious inbox zero.
Inbox zero. Is that even possible?
It's more attainable than you might think, especially if you've implemented some of the strategies we talked about in part 1,
Okay.
like having that process to empty approach.
Right. The letterbox.
Exactly.
Okay. So once we've reviewed and ideally achieved inbox zero, where do we go from there?
Then we move on to organize.
Okay.
So this is about really fine-tuning your week ahead. You examine your calendar.
Okay.
Are all those meetings truly necessary? Can any of them be shortened or maybe handled through a quick phone call
Right.
or an email exchange?
It's about being ruthless with our time.
Precisely. And then you look at your individual tasks.
Okay.
Do you have a good balance between meetings and focused work time?
Okay.
Have you allocated enough time for those tasks that require deep concentration?
So it's about planning for those deep work sessions that are so crucial for actually getting things done.
Exactly.
So what about all those different productivity methods out there? Are we talking about Kanban boards or time blocking or anything like that?
While those systems can be really helpful for some people,
Okay.
smart work really emphasizes using the tools that you already have.
Okay.
Your calendar, your task list.
So it's about simplicity and leveraging what's already at our fingertips.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've reviewed, we've organized. What's next? What about anticipate?
Anticipate is all about looking ahead,
Okay.
peering a few weeks into the future and identifying those deadlines
Right.
or those events that require preparation.
Yeah.
Do you have a big presentation coming up? Start gathering your materials now.
Start early. Don't wait until the last minute.
Exactly. Is there a crucial project milestone approaching?
Right.
Break it down into smaller, manageable steps.
Okay.
Schedule them into your week.
I like it.
And don't forget about those travel arrangements.
Uh-oh.
Booking flights and accommodations in advance can save you so much stress.
And money.
And money, yes.
So it's about shifting from that reactive mode of constantly putting out fires to a more proactive mindset where we're anticipating needs and preparing in advance.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, and last but not least, we have realign. Does this involve meditation or maybe some positive affirmations?
While those practices can certainly be beneficial,
I'm always up for a little zen in my day.
this part is really about connecting your actions back to the bigger picture.
Okay.
Remember those 3 big roles we talked about earlier?
Yes, the big rocks.
This is where you ensure that your weekly tasks
Right.
contribute to those core areas.
So it's like a weekly check-in to make sure we're still heading in the right direction.
And if you find that you've veered off course,
Right.
you can use the RRR method to make those necessary adjustments.
I like that. Okay, so we have our plan. We've reviewed, organized, anticipated, and realigned. But how do we actually stick to it when there's always something vying for our attention?
And that brings us to another important concept in smart work,
Okay.
fighting for importance.
Because let's face it, there are always distractions.
There are. It's about setting boundaries,
Okay.
managing expectations, and sometimes even saying no.
There it is again. No. I'm starting to think that's the magic word when it comes to productivity.
It often is.
But saying no can be so difficult. How do we get comfortable with that?
Well, one strategy Crowley suggests
Okay.
is simply making your priorities visible.
So like a big do not disturb sign on my office door.
It could be that literal, but he suggests a more subtle approach.
Okay.
Write down those top priorities.
Okay.
Post them somewhere. You'll see them regularly.
On
On your wall, on your desk, even incorporated into your planning rituals.
So it's about having that visual reminder to keep us focused.
Exactly.
But what about those tasks that we just keep putting off? You know, the ones that just never seem to make it to the top of the to-do list?
Ah, yes, the procrastination pixie.
Procrastination pixie. Is that a real thing?
It's what Crowley calls that little voice in our heads.
Oh, I know that voice very well.
That whispers sweet nothings about all those unimportant tasks.
My procrastination pixie is obsessed with making me clean my desk when I have a deadline looming.
It's amazing how appealing those less important tasks can become
Right.
when we're faced with something challenging.
It's true. So how do we combat this procrastination pixie?
By recognizing when it's at work
Oh.
and consciously redirecting our attention back to the important tasks.
So it's about awareness
It is.
and making a choice.
Exactly.
What about those tasks that are really important,
Hmm.
but just feel really overwhelming or too big to tackle?
That's where effective delegation comes in.
Because we can't do everything ourselves, right?
We can't. Smart work provides a really useful framework for delegating effectively,
Yeah.
considering both the level of risk involved
Right.
and the experience of the person you're delegating to.
So it's not just about dumping tasks on other people.
It's not. It's about empowering others,
Okay.
fostering collaboration,
Right.
and freeing up your time and energy.
So delegation can actually be a win-win situation for everyone involved.
It can be, but it does require a shift in mindset.
Okay. Because I'll admit, I have a tendency to micromanage when I delegate tasks.
I think a lot of us do. Crowley addresses that in the book,
Okay.
emphasizing the importance of clear communication,
Right.
setting realistic expectations,
Okay.
and providing support without stifling the other person's autonomy.
So it's about finding that balance between guidance and trust,
It is.
empowering others to take ownership.
Exactly.
This is all great advice, but realistically, changing the way we work can be really challenging.
It can be. And that's why Crowley emphasizes that mastery takes practice.
Yeah.
It's not about overhauling your entire workflow overnight.
Right.
It's about starting with one or two strategies,
Okay.
seeing how they work for you,
Right.
and building from there.
So it's a process of continuous improvement.
It is. It's about finding what works best for you
I like that.
in your unique situation.
So smart work is not a one-size-fits-all solution.
It's not.
It's about creating a personalized approach that helps you achieve your specific goals.
Precisely. And that leads us perfectly into the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
where we'll be talking about the concept of outcomes.
Outcomes. I'm intrigued.
Stay tuned to find out more.
Okay, so we've talked about consolidating our tasks, getting into a digital system, scheduling it forward, planning proactively, fighting for importance, even combating the procrastination pixie.
We have.
But now I'm really curious about this concept of outcomes.
Yes.
You mentioned at the last part.
Yeah.
What are they and why are they so crucial to smart work?
Well, think about it this way. All those strategies we've been discussing, they're not
Yeah.
just about getting things done for the sake of checking things off a list.
Right.
It's about creating space for us to actually achieve those meaningful results,
Yeah.
have a real impact
I like that.
on our work and our lives.
So it's about connecting our daily actions to a larger purpose,
Precisely.
making sure that we're not just busy, but
Oh, yeah.
actually productive
Exactly.
in a way that aligns with our goals and our values.
You got it.
Okay, I understand the concept in theory,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes those big picture goals feel so distant
They do.
and abstract. How do we bridge that gap between those aspirations and the reality of our daily to-do lists?
Smart work provides a very simple framework
Okay.
for doing just that.
Okay.
And it starts with a question.
Okay.
What are the key outcomes I'm striving to achieve in my role?
So it's not just about the tasks themselves, but the results we're aiming for.
Exactly.
Defining success by the impact we make,
Yes,
not just by how busy we are.
precisely. It's about the value you're adding,
Okay,
the difference you're making, maybe even the legacy you hope to leave behind.
I like that.
So once you've identified those key outcomes,
Right.
then you ask yourself,
Okay.
what are the key activities that will drive those outcomes?
So now we're connecting those big picture aspirations to the concrete actions that will actually move us forward.
Exactly.
Like we're creating a roadmap for success,
It is.
where each task is strategically chosen based on its contribution to those desired outcomes.
That's a great way to think about it.
This makes a lot of sense to me because I've definitely had those times where I was super busy, but looking back, I wasn't really accomplishing anything meaningful.
I think we all have.
I was just spinning my wheels, caught in that whirlwind of activity,
Uh-huh.
but without a clear sense of direction.
And that's exactly what smart work helps us avoid.
Okay, good.
It encourages us to be more mindful of our actions, to ask ourselves, is this task really contributing to those outcomes I've identified?
Okay.
Or am I just getting caught up in busy work?
Ooh, that's a tough question to ask ourselves, but probably a necessary one.
It is, and it leads us to Crowley's final question,
Okay.
which is perhaps the most challenging.
Oh boy.
What can I let go of to create more space for those high-impact activities?
Okay.
So this is where it becomes crucial to really connect back to those outcomes you defined earlier.
Okay.
If a task isn't directly contributing to achieving those desired results,
Right.
it might be time to delegate it,
Okay.
automate it,
Okay.
or even eliminate it altogether.
There's that word again.
Yeah.
No. It seems like saying no is really the key to all of this.
It's a crucial skill,
It is.
for sure.
But how do we decide what to let go of when it feels like everything is important?
That's where those outcomes come in.
Okay.
If it's not contributing,
Right.
it might be time to reconsider.
Okay, so it's about being ruthless
Mm.
with our time and energy and making sure we're focusing on the things that truly matter.
You got it.
This has been so insightful.
Glad to hear it.
I'm really starting to see smart work, and not just as a productivity system, but as a whole new way of thinking about work.
It's a philosophy.
It is.
It really is.
It's about being intentional with our choices
Yes.
and focusing our energy where it has the greatest impact.
And ultimately creating a work life that is both fulfilling and productive.
I love that. So as we wrap up our deep dive into smart work, what's the one thing you hope our listeners will take away from this conversation?
The idea that mastery is a journey.
It is.
It's not something you achieve overnight.
Right.
It's about constantly experimenting,
Okay.
refining your approaches, and adapting to the ever-changing demands of our work.
So it's a continuous process of learning and improvement.
It is. And that's really exciting
It
if
is.
you think about it.
Absolutely. So if our listeners are ready to take action today, what's one concrete step they can take to start implementing smart work in their own lives?
Identify your 3 key outcomes.
Okay.
Write them down.
Right.
Post them somewhere you'll see them every day.
Okay.
And use them as a guiding star for all your decisions and actions.
Wonderful advice.
Oh.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into smart work. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling inspired and energized and ready to tackle my to-do list with a renewed sense of purpose.
Me too. It's been a great conversation.
As promised, here is a 10-point summary to help you on your journey.
All right, so number 1, consolidate tasks. Utilize a single centralized system for managing all your commitments. 2, embrace technology. Leverage the power of digital tools to streamline your workflow. Number 3, schedule it forward. Focus on start dates rather than due dates. Number 4, create a balanced schedule. Protect time for focused work, even if it means pushing back on meetings. 5, plan proactively. Implement the ROA method. Review, organize, anticipate, realign. 6, fight for importance. Set boundaries, manage expectations, and learn to say no. 7, make your priorities visible. Keep those big rocks front and center. Number 8, delegate effectively. Empower others, foster collaboration, and free up your time. 9, focus on outcomes. Define success by the results you produce. And finally, number 10, embrace the journey. Mastery takes practice, so experiment, adapt, and celebrate those small wins along the way.
Keep diving deep, everyone, and keep striving for a fulfilling and impactful work life. See you on the next deep dive.